We're all celebrated Pongal, and after that, we could have come very comfortable to MMA because the roads are quite empty and not much traffic. And today is a topic which you will love to listen. And before coming to the topic, let me briefly tell you what's happening. And meanwhile, all the viewers watch there as usual. The numbers on your screen, you can send the questions if you have any, so that we'll pick up all the questions. People who are here, there's a question slip available here. My team will give you the pen and the slip. If you have any questions, please write your question and send it to them, because in the interest of the time, we don't hand over the microphone because we want to listen to only Mr. Malik and his team. Better we get the questions only through question slip. Before I call upon the distinguished speakers, we are also going to play a short little video about this organization so that you understand what they do. And let me tell you what's happening. 21st, again, a very, very high profile, nice event, Unlocking Wealth, Secrets of Getting Rich at Any Age. Rohit Sarin is going to be there, and Mr. Sandhu Nair is going to lead the conversation with him. And Nagapani is one of the special invitees. All around Rohit. Rohit is one of the very good financial consultant. He runs more than 60,000 crore of worth of investment portfolio handles. And it is happening on 21st, the same place here. On 22nd, we have, as usual, Read and Grow, the lean startup, how constant innovation creates a radically successful business. So this again, we got three outstanding speakers, Ram Prasad, Srikant, Srinivash Ram Prasad, Srikant, and Constantin Gopalakrishnan. There are three of the outstanding leaders who are going to be discussing this. Yeah, as you know, Read and Grow, we do it mainly for MBA students because we strongly believe as a leader, you should be a great reader. So you come and listen to this. All the sessions used to be very, very interesting. On 27th, again, a very inspiring event we are doing on Nari Shakti, Indian women take the center stage, which is happening. And we are getting an outstanding woman to come and speak. To start with, Arundhati Bhattacharya. She is a former chairman of State Bank of India and the CEO of Salesforce. She will be here talking to us, along with him, N. Kumar, chairman of Sanmar Group, Uma Ganesh, author of GT Foundation, Pooja Sharma Goel. She is going to be the founding out of Udali Foundation. The Anushka Ravi Shankar, she is also a Dugbill Books, and she is again publisher, author. Ganesh Natarajan is a founder of Zenza. So we've got a very outstanding panel. This is happening on 27th of January. Then in January, are keeping you busy till the last day, 31st January. Again, we are an interesting event. It's 5th V. Narayanan Endowment Lecture, Memorial Pons Lecture, The Journey of Leadership. Again, we have an outstanding speaker, not to be missed. Atul Vora, advisor and professional brand ambassador, he's come from USA, and he's going to lead the conversation with Mr. Ramesh Srinivasan, senior partner McKinsey from USA, New York, USA. So this is what is there. That's we have other speakers. Then on 7th of Feb, again we have a competition for young managers. Then we also have Deepak Jayaraman, author. He's going to be talking on leadership and coaching. Then on 12th, we have MMA annual convention, our flagship event. The invite has already been sent. It's a paid program at Taj Coromandel. We have some outstanding speakers. It's already been shared with you, the very list, almost 18-20 speakers from 9:30 to 5:30. At least some sessions I suggest not to be missed, especially technology session, where we have three outstanding, one from Uber, one from IIM Ahmedabad, CTO is there. Then the last session, Resilience, where we are getting Commando Toyota, who actually rescued 185 hostages taken by them in the Taj in 26/11. How we really rescued them and how we got so many shots, still survived. And you're going to be sharing the story. We got Amitabh Bhattacharya and also Gautami being a cancer survivor, what she did. So we got some outstanding speakers all through the sessions. I said is going to be inaugurated by Mr. Gallen, International Entrepreneur of the Year. So we got some outstanding speakers. We already got 300 plus nominations, and we have going to take only about 600 nominations. If you're not really booked, book your seats, because otherwise we'll get closed very soon. Thanks so much coming to today's event. I think we're given enough time for people enjoying the refreshment a little bit. Strategies for simplifying decision making. The subject which everybody is interested in, because anytime you talk about strategy, and it's okay, people pay attention. When you want decision making, it's a lot of attention is paid, because that's where we lack quite a bit of action, quite a bit of knowledge and content. So before I call upon distinguished speakers to come on stage and share their thoughts and views, the speakers have come from all over the world today to share their thoughts. And I think there's a nice video about the institution. Maybe may I have a video, please? So we can have a video. Thereafter, we'll get on with the program. Video, please.
burr as the archetype for Velcro. The lotus leaf as a model for surfaces that clean themselves. Shark skin as inspiration for ship and aircraft designers. Such things have been heard of before. Bionics, however, is more. Bionics is a method of applying biological principles for the benefit of human systems and organizations.
Their organization makes it possible to manage highly complex systems. They can coordinate millions of parallel and networked processes. They can adapt themselves flexibly to any and every change. They control events in real time. They have the best early warning systems. They find their way even without seeing it in front of them. They keep track of everything. They act on their own while facilitating the whole. They coordinate themselves. They know how to integrate and how to grow stably. biological systems have found innumerable solutions of great potential value for our organizations.
We do not want to go back to nature.
However, we can use many ideas which they have developed in 4 billion years of evolution.
We cannot and do not wish to copy nature.
However, we can learn from it wherever it shows us better and sustainable systems.
A person who merely compares his own corporation with other firms can hardly hope to become better than others already are.
The management know-how of nature is real right practice. It is the benchmark for the winners of tomorrow.
One could simply ignore all of this.
There is a very simple reason for not doing so. The competition might disagree.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's only a trailer. Baki picture, Baki Abhi, because you're going to listen more about this subject soon from the experts who have joined us today. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished chief guest for this evening, other panel. Let me welcome Mr. Giridhara Gopal to come and take place on the dais. He is the Director, Chief Executive of Addison and also member of the MMA Managing Committee. Mr. Sivasubramanian and founder CEO of Rembarrier. Then Mr. Dr. Malik, Director of Malik Institute of Switzerland. He has come all the way from Switzerland, and maybe warm round of applause to welcome Mr. Malik, who has been here to share his thoughts with us. And Mr. Srinivash Singh, Chairman of Rembarrier Advisors Private Limited. May I request, ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause to all our panel for this evening. Please take your place, sir. Before I, as for the format, we will, each one of them will speak, and thereafter there will be a presentation on strategy, simplifying decision making by Mr. Malik. Then they'll have informal, free-flowing discussion. Then we have a Q&A. Now, I will request now Mr. Giridhara Gopal, Director, Chief Executive Officer, to deliver the formal welcome to opening remarks. May I have the CAV, please?
Mr. Giridhara Gopal is a seasoned leader with over 3 decades of experience in engineering and management. Serving as Director and CEO of Addison Co Limited since 2018, Mr. Giridhara Gopal also holds key positions at LM Vanmox Diamond Tools India and previously worked with Grindwell Norton Limited. An alumnus of the College of Engineering, Guindi, Mr. Giridhara Gopal is also a qualified cost accountant.
I now request Mr. Gopal to please deliver the formal welcome. Mr. Gopal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my privilege to deliver the formal welcome address, this very special discussion on the theme strategies for simplifying decision making, organized jointly by MMA in association with the Rembarrier and Conrad Adenauer Stiftung. I consider it an honor to welcome my esteemed speakers this evening, Mr. N. Sivasubramanian, founder and CEO, Rembarrier Advisors Private Limited, Mr. Dr. Constantin Malik, Director, Malik Institute, Switzerland. Thank you, sir, for traveling all the way from Switzerland to join all of us. Dr. Srinivash Singh, Chairman, Rembarrier Advisors Private Limited. Like most of you would have browsed their website, so did I. They are into exciting and interesting functions. It's time to extend a warm welcome to all the delegates gathered here today, as well as guests and members of MMA from across Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, esteemed participants from our partner organizations, and the numerous attendees joining us online from all over the country and beyond. For the benefit of our guests and invitees, I am glad to share that MMA, which was established in 1956 has grown into the largest management association in the country with over 8,000 members across 10 chapters in Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. We are proud to have been recognized the best management association in India and unprecedented 14 times in a row by the All India Management Association. Coming to the subject, all of us know that decision making is an integral part of both our professional and personal lives. Yet, many times it becomes more complex and stressful, more so in the face of evolving challenges and variables today. Traditionally, decision making was simplified using structured approaches such as analyzing data, weighing options, focusing on key factors that influence the outcome. That's how the tradition has been. Tools such as decision matrices were widely adopted to compare alternatives based on predefined criteria. But now, digital technology has revolutionized this process. I would probably say disrupted this process. Data science, decision support systems, and AI-based tools have elevated decision making by providing real-time data, actionable insights, and predictive recommendations. These systems empower decision makers to access all the relevant information, identify patterns, and make informed choices promptly. In addition, technologies like AI, machine learning, process automation, blockchain, natural language processing, and cloud-based analytics, and furthermore, simplify the decision-making process by offering dynamic solutions and real-time updates. Again, accessibilities such as mobile apps and cloud platforms has further supported these benefits. These two together today enable leaders to make critical decisions anytime, anywhere, without any delay. We have today a panel of accomplished leaders and visionaries who will share strategies to simplify this complex science of decision making, drawn from their extensive experience and expertise. Before we begin, I would like to thank the president of MMA, though he's not here, I guess he may be online, my colleagues from the managing committee, all the members of MMA, and the secretariat who have worked tirelessly to make this event a reality. Once again, I welcome our distinguished speakers, esteemed delegates, and viewers joining us live from across the globe. Thank you, sir, for being a part of this enriching session. I look forward to the discussions ahead and hope they inspire all of us to work on practical strategies, both on personal and professional lives. Like all of you, I'm equally eager to listen to the experts on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for making it to this event.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal, for delivering the opening remarks with the context for the evening discussion. Now we come to the most awaited event, listening to the speeches from the distinguished speakers for this evening. Can I have of all the speakers before we call up them to deliver the
Dr. Constantin Malik is an industry leader specializing in organizational transformation and complex problem solving. As director of the Malik Institute, Dr. Malik champions Syntegration, a patented cybernetics-based methodology designed to achieve rapid, sustainable organizational change. Syntegration has been successfully deployed by global giants like VW, BMW, and Airbus, enabling faster decision-making, innovation, and team accountability. With over 1,000 successful implementations worldwide, Dr. Malik's approach delivers measurable results by engaging in-house teams to solve challenges in real time, ensuring ownership and swift execution. Mr. Sivasubramanian, a global business leader with over 30 years of experience in business transformation, M&A, and project execution across core industries like power, metals, mining, and infrastructure. As former MD of Thyssenkrupp Industries and CEO of Siemens Industrial Solutions, Mr. Sivasubramanian managed large-scale P&L and technology-driven solutions globally. Currently, Mr. Subramanian leads Rembarrier Advisors Private Limited, specializing in business transformation, M&A advisory, and leadership search. Mr. Srinivash Singh is an accomplished leader with expertise in engineering, procurement, construction, and financial restructuring. As former MD and CEO of McNally Bharat Engineering, Mr. Srinivash spearheaded innovative technologies and turnkey project solutions, including renewable energy initiatives and global collaborations. Currently, Mr. Srinivash serves as Chairman of Rembarrier Advisors Private Limited, bringing decades of experience in driving growth and organizational transformation.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to the distinguished speaker for this evening, and that's a profile of an outstanding speakers were there this evening. I'm quite sure when you step out this evening, you'll be more wiser, and I'm quite sure you'll take your decisions properly, attend more MMA events. Now, before that, let me call Mr. Sivasubramanian to deliver the overview, followed by Mr. Malik will make a presentation on strategies for simplifying decision. Mr. Sivasubramanian.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, MMA and Mr. Gopal for giving us the introduction. And thank you to everybody for attending this, not only here physically, but also I understand that there are global viewers for this program. That's really, thank you very much for all of this. I think this, the film, I think, was an excellent summation of what we are going to talk about. You see, this navigating complexity is an excellent topic. And when we spoke to Captain, I think he was the one who was actually setting the agenda for the whole thing. I think every organization navigates complexity. I think it's an everyday affair for every organization. Most of the organizations navigate the complexity successfully. I think that's why they are successful organizations. But one thing is common in all these things is that there is something behind this, which is very common in all this complexity management, is the firefighting. Every complexity or everything goes through a lot of firefighting, and then gets solved, right? And then it creates a lot of stress in the people. And every time the complexity comes, there is new firefighting starts. And then by the time you douse the fire of one, then the second one starts, and then I think it's all of us have come through this. I think this is something which is very normal, and then we have taken this as a routine for all of us. I have run companies for 30 years. Mr. Singh has done this for over 55 years. I think many of you are leaders here must have done this for, and this we have taken for granted that, complexity management is all about firefighting and dousing the fire. I think this is something which is there. I think this is what led to thinking from Dr. Stafford Beer, who is a British theorist, I think a thinker, philosopher, mathematician. He looked at this like what the film also showed, that how do we make this seamless? How can we do this? How can we making this the complexity management seamless without much of stress for the employees or for the people who are firefighting? And then he looked at the nature, and that the nature gives an answer for most of the problem that we have. Nature gives the solution, right? So let's say that you look at the nature. We saw the film. Let's say that today the temperature here is about what, 28 degrees or something like that. So we take a flight tonight, and let's say we go to Srinagar, and then we drive down maybe another 200 kilometers to go to Dras. Captain will tell me minus 30 degrees. So plus 30 degrees, minus 30 degrees. So we are looking at about plus difference about 60 degrees. Your body temperature, does it come down by 60 degrees? Your body temperature remains the same, right? You might wear a few woolen clothes, but your body temperature remains the same, right? So there is a way for built into our nature that whatever happens, whatever be the external condition, your body is able to regulate the temperature, right? And similarly, let's say your plants, they survive the winter, hot summer, very harsh winter, and then, autumn, summer, rains, everything. But then they survive all these things and they're doing that. So if you apply the same thing, the same logic to organization, we say living organizations, we get disrupted. What happened, to give you an example, in 2008, everybody's, the most popular or the mobile brand was Nokia with a market share of about 60%. And then what happened, then when the Apple launched the phone and they were selling the phone at $50 a phone, and then Apple launched the phone at $1,000, and where does anybody know where is Nokia is? Do they make telephones? If you ask the young generation, they may not even know that Nokia once made a phone. So such kind of technology disruptions, let us say the other competition or cost pressure, and then they said that why did Nokia lose the market share? Is they say that it's because of internal competition. They talk about passive bureaucracy in the organization. We spoke to some very, very large organization. I don't want to tell the name of the company for some reason, but they said that we are a very large company, very successful company, but we have a huge bureaucracy in the organization, right? So all this, the companies are managing these complexities through, firefighting but there is, if you are able to apply the same logic of, regulating the self-regulation, then these companies would be in a far better shape. And this is where Dr. Stafford Beard, he propounded this theory of cybernetics. So cybernetics is all about self-regulation, right? How do you regulate yourself? How do you regulate an organization? How do you make them self-regulate? It's not an everyday firefighting. So if you are creating an organization which is self-regulating, so they are able to regulate themselves. They are able to anticipate the disruptions coming up. And how do we handle this? So is it possible to bring something like that into the organizational context? And that's how this the cybernetics was used. And then he propounded this theory of syntegration. Syntegration, how do we simplify, how do we transform companies, how do you make them self-regulating, how do you make them self-sustaining? And then he looked at, kind of a structure for this. So I'm sure that you will hear more from this from Dr. Constantin Malik, who is a cybernetician. He's a big management guru. He has written books on that, and then his father has written several books on that. What we are talking about is how do we bring the cybernetics integration? They have done, Malik and company have done about more than 1,000 transformations successfully around the globe. And it's all about how do we self-regulate an organization, how do we make the organization robust and sustainable. And so that's the theme that we are talking about. So it would be a fantastic experience for the people. You're not going to do the firefighting every day, and the whole transformation becomes seamless. I think this is where today's discussion is. I'm sure that you are going to enjoy. I would request Constantin Malik to continue with this, and then we also would have a question and answer session where we would be able to discuss more about what exactly the structure and how does the structure works. I leave it to him for explaining this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Oops, just a second. It's okay. I thought I was destroying the microphone, but it's all okay. Can I take this down a bit? Otherwise I don't see my computer. Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure. It's my first time in Chennai, first time in India, actually. So because of this occasion, allow me to first thank the people that, I owe it to that I am here. My good friends from Rembarrier, Shiva, Partha, Krish. Thanks so much for having me, dear esteemed Mr. Singh. It's a real pleasure. Thanks so much for bringing me to your exciting country. I hope that together we will have the chance to do a lot of transformations together and help organizations manage to navigate their complexity with a lot of success. Thank you also so much, Captain Yajkumar, for inviting me here and for giving me the chance and the opportunity to speak at this very esteemed and illustrious organization in place. Navigating complexity. I have to tell you, I said it, it's my first trip to India. I've been dealing with complexity for 20 years and more, professionally for around 20. And I thought, I know quite a bit something about it. I'll have something to say. And then I came to Mumbai and saw the traffic and how people behave in it and move around. And I came to Kolkata and saw the traffic. Chennai is a bit better. But I heard about the Mahakumbh, where 450 million people are about to descend on one place. And that needs to be organized. And I've been told by your son, Mr. Singh, that Hinduism has millions of gods. And I was thinking to myself, oh God, what have I done by saying yes to this? I'm not sure I can tell you anything about complexity. It seems that complexity is rooted in your culture and has been so for thousands of years. And that you, indeed, and that you probably have a very inherent handling of complexity and how to move about it. To be quite honest, this is, like I said, I have a week in your country. I'm sure I'll be back. But it's certainly the most complex country I've been to, and I have a feeling you don't know what complexity is until you've been to India. So I have great respect for your leaders, politically and otherwise, in how this works. I also understand that, unlike our countries, you're not necessarily a rule-based society, but more a principle-based society. And there's a difference in complexity science between algorithms and heuristics. And the entire world talks about algorithms. But in the face of complexity, algorithms are usually useless. And you need to go to heuristics, guidelines, principles, right? It's more, a heuristic is a formula to find. An algorithm is a formula to find, whereas a heuristic could be more looked at as a formula to search. And so I think a lot that your country represents is very inherently, prone to complexity and intuitively understands complexity quite well. So I thought, what can I tell you? Well, I hope I still have something new to tell you and something interesting, especially from a not necessarily intuitive point, but rather from a scientific point of view. Because you see, and from an application point of view. Because you see, our organization was founded 40 years ago by my father, Professor Dr. Constantin Malik. I don't like to talk about myself, but I love to talk about my father. I'm very proud of him. And he's he's thought of as one of the foremost management thinkers and appliers in certainly the German-speaking countries where we come from, and probably in Europe. Now, he founded our organization, the Malik Institute, 40 years ago out of the University of St. Gallen. It's a small but illustrious university in the very east of Switzerland. And it championed the systems-oriented management approach. Now, the idea behind that was that maybe and potentially for management, for corporations, for the management of organizations, we might be able to learn more from the complexity sciences, that is cybernetics, as was mentioned, that is the system science, and that is bionics. Thank you so much for showing the video. I didn't expect that. I would have dove deeper into that had I known. That we might be able to learn more from these sciences for management than from business administration alone. Business administration is necessary, but might not be sufficient. There might be other sciences as well that can help us navigate complexity. And the notion was, back then already, that probably with the 21st century, we will be entering an age of complexity. And that complexity will be a competitive force for whoever who knows how to navigate it. And I believe that this is so important. One of the great pioneers, he has been mentioned, Stafford Beer. He is considered the father of management cybernetics, a very close friend of my father's and mine, and we have the honor to continue his legacy also. He was, by the way, a lover of India. He spent a lot of his time here. He was stationed here as the commander of a Gurkha regiment and was himself a tantric yogi, was fluent in Sanskrit. And he was very much inspired and influenced by Indian culture for all his writings and everything that he had developed, because he never saw a difference. And here we come again to your intrinsic affinity towards complexity and cybernetics. He never saw a difference between his spiritual experiences and cybernetic and complexity science. So he found a lot of that in your country. And he said that complexity must be designed if we wanted to do the least harm to people and assets. Complexity always plays out, but if we just let it, then it does so often with negative consequences. And so it needs to be designed and to do what we want to do, to be able for us to guide through complexity and to use complexity to our advantage and to do the best for our organizations and our people. Now, please let me show you how we understand complexity a little bit. I said it, we have thought of the 21st century as the age of complexity, that we will be entering an age of complexity and that we are in the midst of a great transformation, both society and organizations. And it's really a transformation from an old world to a new world. And we, as a picture, use two double S curves. On the one hand, you have a red curve. It depicts and represents the foundations for our present existence. These are your customers today. It's the technology you use today. It's the knowledge you have today, the people you have today, the products you have today. This is now. And hopefully you've been very successful with it. But there's something else. There's something new. Always. Something new that comes up. The green curve represents our future existence, our future customers, our future products, the knowledge of the future, what our people need to know, what kind of people we will need in the future. This is substitution, right? This is disruption also partly. And to get from one to the other, there is a critical disruptive decision zone, really. This is where we have to make those decisions that were talked about. This is where we have to shift resources. We need new knowledge, new organizations, even organizational structures, new strategies. This is where big change happens, and that's where we need to train and enable people for the new. And I believe this has never been truer than today, and it becomes faster and faster. We see four main drivers for the transformation today. Demography is one. In different parts of the world, of the globe, demography works differently. In our countries, you have a lot of aging. This is very different here in South and Southeast Asia, of course. Japan is similar to ours, but it brings a lot of changes. Economic changes, of course. There's a lot of debt in the world. Let's see how that plays out, but that is a driver. Ecology and everything around climate is certainly something, and I know that there's a huge shift also in your country towards sustainability. And then there's technology. Most would probably consider that's the greatest shift. And among it, probably digitalization. And why digitalization? because it connects everything to everything else. And that's what complexity is all about. When things get interconnected and elements work with each other and network, and there's a web of things, that's when complexity occurs and starts to happen. And that's where complexity is produced. And I would like to say something about complexity, and it has a lot to do with the opening question that we have. It of course talks about simplifying decision making, but when faced with complexity, most people think about simplifying it. It's difficult. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. So let's keep it simple. That's a strategy you hear very often. But there's a huge problem with that when it comes to complexity. It's wrong. And not just a bit, it's dead wrong. You see, a German biologist once said, higher capability only comes from higher complexity. If you will, you can understand human evolution and actually evolution as such as a path towards ever greater complexity. Right? Your brain, to our knowledge, the most complex steering organism and control organism that nature has devised, is highly complex. If I asked you to please keep it simple and deposit half of your brain out at the door before you come in because you won't need it for my speech, you would rightly say, you're mad. I need my brain. It makes me who I am. It's the complexity that enables us to be who we are. Everything that is of higher order exhibits higher complexity. And so we need to use complexity. Complexity needs to be a resource, something that we need to seize. And that is something that in most organizations we don't do. We try to avoid it because we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to navigate it. We do need to simplify decision making. That is clear. For that, we need to use complexity as a resource that lets us do exactly that. And we find faster, easier, simpler, and clearer, especially, solutions to our complex problems. And that's what we've tried in our organization over the years. We have developed disintegration. It has already been mentioned, disintegration. We like to say we are convinced that is so far the most powerful tool and method for complex problems and challenges and to manage complex transformations. And what it's meant to do is it is meant to help you, help organizations, even hopefully society, manage an optimal path of development and not fall into the trap of getting stuck on the red curve and missing out of the green curve. And one of the reasons behind it why it tries to do that is that it's much faster than tools that you usually have. And looking at how the pace is picking up almost by the minute, I believe we need faster methods and faster tools to guide us through the complexity we are faced with. Syntegration, the name comes from synergy and integration. It combines the best of both worlds. It is a method to find optimal solutions for complex problems, any kind of complex problem really, and that in the fastest possible time. We're speaking days, not months and years, as lots of processes take. And it involves all the relevant stakeholders. Complexity, complex questions need a lot of knowledge, need a lot of people to be involved because that knowledge is required. If something is simple, you can do it with one person, you can do it with a little team, that's great, but most problems or our organizations face these days are complex, and you need a lot of people. And integration allows you to involve all the people necessary to do that and find consensus. So find alignment behind joint solutions that these people work out together. So integration maximizes collective intelligence. Everybody talks about artificial intelligence, and rightly so. It will disrupt everything. It's already disrupting everything. It will replace and upend a lot of things, and it will make a lot of people jobless. But these people are still here. What do we do with them? I believe there is so much more creativity in people, in organizations, in our employees, and the people we work with and surround ourselves with than we know. and I'm a fan of collective intelligence, right? It's in our joint brains that we find solutions that otherwise you can't find. And that's also very relevant for decision making, because you don't want to, I truly believe that you don't want to leave decision making up to artificial intelligence. There's always a gap between the best information that you get from data and the decision that you actually make. And any kind of decision needs to be implemented. And for that, you need to bring people along. So even the best data and the clearest answer you can get from machines, you still need to bring your people along. And most transformations fail because that's not the case. People don't have insight. They don't own them. They don't have buy-in. So they block them. There's barriers. And of course, my colleagues at Rembarrier try to remove these barriers. And hopefully that's another way to do exactly that. So you can think of Syntegration as a collective think tank, if you will. A think tank that is customized to your individual problems. And it enables a group of large people to work like one brain. Syntegration uses geometric designs. You see that little thing over there, maybe hold it up, and you have that icon down there. That is the icosahedron. Thank you very much. That is the icosahedron. It's the largest platonic body. You also find these structures in nature, as you saw in that movie before. And we use this to optimize the information and communication flow between large groups of people. And optimizing that mathematically, and with the help of this, optimizes the distribution of knowledge and of views and of languages. And of language and much more. I'll just leave this here without falling down. So we use this to optimize that in a mathematical way. Now, why do we use this structure exactly? Why this structure? And here I want to briefly dive into something that is, in my opinion, often a misconception. Everything depends on people. And I just said that, right? It depends on our people, and that is absolutely true. But it's not the entire truth. Scientifically, it depends even more on how we interconnect people. All right? We can just sit here together, or we can talk to each other, and that can happen in very many different ways. So the relationship among people determines very much how communication happens and what we do with that. And I want to give you a few examples. If these little dots here represent people, all right? This is Shiva on the left side, this is you, Mr. Singh, me, my wife Andrea, and the captain, the last one, and they talk to one another in this way. I'm sure you have this game as well. In English, you call it Chinese whispers. We call it silent post in German. But we all know what it does. It produces nonsense, right? We whisper something in one ear and it goes on and on and on. And in the end, that was definitely not what was meant. You can turn this around and you have a lot of corporate structures. Right? These are the layers of an organization, of a large organization. And you now know why the person on the shop floor doesn't understand what the board member was saying. Because it dribbles down basically through all the layers, and what comes out in the end is not what you want. You can rearrange this into this. That's also something that we find a lot nowadays. But this only results in maximal power. What we want scientifically is a maximal use of information. That's what allows us to navigate complexity and make the right decisions. But this here does not do that. It doesn't exploit the knowledge of our people at all. It just maximizes power. The ideal distribution of communication here is the small team. This one we know. If you have 5 people that sit together and communicate this way, it's ideal. Everybody can talk to everybody. Everybody can understand everybody. Excellent. But that's for simple solutions, where 5 people are enough. What do you do when you have 40 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, larger groups of people that need to work together, and not just work together, but collaborate in a deeper sense? What do you do? And this is where now the icosahedron comes in, because it allows for large groups of people to communicate and work like the small team. It basically, you could say, it combines the best of both worlds. So far in the usual processes that we've had to deal with such things, You form either small teams, and that's the problem, that you have to coordinate them. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and you lose a lot of knowledge in between, along the way. Or you can make a conference, like here. I love this conference, I'm very glad to speak to you, but it's not very creative. We're not co-creating, right? So it's a one-way street. I speak, you listen, afterwards someone else will speak and listen, and it can be highly interesting. But it does not get out the creativity and the potential and the knowledge of all of you, because I don't hear from you. Right? So Syntegration tries and does combine the best of both worlds. It lets large groups of people work, communicate, and work as effectively as the small team. And unfortunately, we don't have time now to dive into the subtleties of the entire process. I hope I won't confuse you on a higher level now, but I just briefly want to say what we do is we break down complex challenges into the most important topics, right, that need to be discussed to solve a challenge. And those topics represent the corners. In this structure here, you have 12 different corners. So 12 topics can be discussed simultaneously. And the people that are involved will be placed on these struts here. And as you can see, one person will always discuss two different topics. That's the same for everyone. And we have different roles, also criticism, constructive criticism, etc. And so 30 people, up to 40 and 45 people can discuss 12 topics simultaneously in 20 to 30 days in an interconnected way. What you get, Sheila, you were saying that it's about self-organization. You come up with a self-organizing flow and self-optimizing flow of communication and information that is able to get all the knowledge, all the viewpoints, everything out that is within a large group. To show you what that means, I've brought you this little video. Two topics are always discussed at the same time. And the information that is being discussed is carried forward into other topics by the participants. At the same time, they bring the knowledge they have from other discussions into the individual topics that they have. Then two other topics are being discussed, and again, the information flow happens from the participants into the topic, and from the topic along the participants into other topics. This happens for 12 topics. It's an iterative process. This happens 3 times. And what this does is it distributes up to 90 to 95% mathematically proven knowledge, ideas, viewpoints around this structure. This means it creates, and that's a wonderful expression that I've learned into your country. I hope I will pronounce it correctly. Purvopaksh. Is that what? Yes? That's how you pronounce it? Perfect. So it creates a deep understanding of one another. And what that means is it lets people find joint solutions, common solutions, solutions that they can agree on, all 40 participants. It aligns them, it gives them buy-in, and it gives them ownership of the decisions that have to be made to deal and tackle that complex problem. Imagine, for example, your organization wants to go global, or it wants to grow ambitiously, or it wants to introduce a new technology, or it means to become sustainable throughout everything it does. These are all complex problems, and you need a lot of people to do that. Now, with Syntegration, you can bring in all the people you need. You bring your finance people, you bring your marketing people, your sales people, you bring your experts on the product, but you also bring the decision makers, your board, and you even bring outside experts and your customers whom you need to work for, because that's why you're here. And all of these people can work together like one individual brain on such questions and find common solutions that they agree to and are aligned behind these solutions, and can take this forward and implement successfully what you have done. So Purvopaksh is something that we lack. We find in our experience when we work with organizations that the lack of understanding one another is one of the main reasons why people don't have buy-in and why there's barriers, again, in organizations, right? But creating 360-degree views And me understanding why you have the opinion you have, and you have the opinion you have, and you understanding why my opinion is the way it is, can create common solutions, can create solutions that work on the highest common denominator, except just on a minimal compromise that people hopefully can live with. Here. So in a nutshell, integration for me is AAA. Amplification, alignment, and acceleration. The amplification of collective intelligence. The collective intelligence of your people in an organization, of the people you choose to be part of this. It brings out all the creativity, all the co-creation and participation that you can wish for. And it aligns hearts and minds of people, allowing for ownership and commitment on higher levels that we know so far. And most importantly, maybe in our times, it accelerates the decision-making process. Right? It gives you clarity and accelerates the way how you come to decisions. And that's how we believe in the future more and more organizations will and should navigate their complexity. That's what simplifies decision-making, because such a process will give you direction, precision, and speed. But that's how we believe in the future, and many organizations already do it. In the future, complexity can be tackled, can be mastered, and can be used as a resource in a human way. Because I repeat, I believe that people are the most important thing. It's nowhere more important, I believe, than in your country of 1.4 billion people. That's an incredible treasure trove of creativity and of knowledge that needs to be seized. Mr. Singh always so eloquently talks about tacit knowledge. In all our organizations and entire society, we have so much tacit knowledge that is just waiting to be made explicit. And this, making it explicit, you can find the solutions to most complex problems. And with this, I close. Thank you very much indeed. And I look forward to your great discussion and good question. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. I think there are a number of interesting questions, and some are just comments. So there is one from Mr. Eisenhower, retired managing director of Saint-Gobain. So, Dr. Malik, I think people and communication is important, but leader makes the difference, and it is important, right?
It's not communication. That's what it's like.
Right. So, want to say something?
Also? Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's on. Okay. No, that will be a misunderstanding, I believe. I don't think leadership is less important, but I believe that leadership can benefit from exactly that. Personally, I think a good leader will take into consideration the opinion of his people, and especially he will make the most of the information and the knowledge and the expertise that his people have to offer. So, if a leader doesn't trust his or her people, then he usually that's a different problem. If he believes that the people are not good enough, right? But if you have the right people in an organization, then I think the best that you can do is use those people to the best of your knowledge, to make the maximum out of your people and use the potential that you have. And this, in my opinion, in our opinion, is actually a method that can amplify leadership, right? It can give you all the information, all the potential out of your organization for the complex problems that you face. and thereby amplify the leadership that you exhibit anyway. So I would not want to be understood that leadership is less important than this, but I believe this can be an excellent tool and method to amplify the leadership of a leader.
Because many times 5 or 6 news will come. Leader is important today. So it is not only communication, but the leader is equally important as faculty.
And I agree, and that's by the way why in integrations we want to have the leaders present, right? They need to be part of that, exactly for that reason.
But they have the equal role. They don't have any, it's completely non-hierarchical in integration. And they don't play any extra, they don't get any extra vote. The leaders are part of the whole process. And it's completely a non-hierarchical structure. Thank you very much. This next from Mr. KP Nataraj, what is that? I can't. Is okay. Is flat organization ideal for cybernetics? Brainstorm. Your views?
Together brainstorm.
Right.
Sure, I can do that. It all depends on how you handle it, I believe. I'm a fan of flat organizations, I have to say. But from a cybernetic point of view, it's not necessarily relevant if you have a flat organization or a large organization. Stafford Beer, the same person who invented integration originally, you can't say invented, he discovered the viable system model. The viable system model is a structural model for organizations that is based on the human nervous system. And with it, you have levels of recursion that enable even organizations with many levels to function excellently and quickly and effectively. So wherever you can do flat organizations, and I believe IT especially enables us more and more to get rid of layers that we have, and which of course that makes communication easier, then I believe it's an absolute advantage. But I wouldn't say that just because you have organizational levels, that must be less effective necessarily.
Thank you very much. The next is from Mr. Ilayaraj, GM retired from SAGE. Mr. Ilayaraj? Yeah, Mr. Ilayaraj, thank you. So the question is, the collective intelligence think tank, is it a permanent arrangement or a temporary arrangement to address specific issue? I think, this is this integration is a 3-day or a 3.5-day workshop, right? So you create this integration for solving a specific issue. So this workshop, it happens and then there it is practiced, but it's always better to have this collective intelligence. So as I said, when the organization becomes a self-regulating organization, I think even otherwise people come together, and this is, I think, the beauty of this integration is that how do you make the people collaborate with each other, just not for those 3 days, and how do you sustain it over a period of for the period. So the collective intelligence is a good idea, though it may not be always possible, but the aim is to have it continuously, just not for that period. Is that right?
Yes, however, there's different ways to apply it. So I agree 100% with that. It's often used to tackle individual challenges that you're facing, right? But in an ideal case, I would say it is applied regularly. So you can use it, for example, to pace your organization or to pace a project, right? To bring coherence into parts of the organization or a project when over time things go out of bounds. So you use it to pace it, or for example, you can use it at regular intervals to tackle issues that come up all the time, because there are, of course, reoccurring questions in organizations that don't go away. You can solve them once, but they will reoccur because the environment changes, the circumstances changes, your people change, the environment changes. So as that does, you have to adjust, of course. So it can be done in both ways.
Thank you. So the next question is from Mr. Zulfikar, Mysore. Mr. Zulfikar? Online, okay. What role do emerging technologies like AI, and big data play in simplifying decision-making process? How can that be leveraged effectively? Is it popular and effective with management professionals?
Mr. Gopal, you mentioned many of those technologies, right? And that it does simplify decision making, and I agree, of course. I think there's two parts. AI will absolutely, all these should support and can simplify. The danger is, in my opinion, that we lose ourselves in data. Right? I'm a cybernetician. Cybernetics is about those essential variables that steer your system. It's not about getting as much data as possible. That has been made, that is easier than ever. But that can also confuse, right? Where is the guiding star in all the data that I get? So that danger is there, and I believe that can, on the one hand, that could simplify it, it can also make it more complex. So you want to focus on the things that really steer. I think AI will play a major role. Also, of course, even integration, right? That will play a major role in simplifying decision making as well. But again, I see the danger in that we give artificial intelligence, all these things, too much power to make the decision as such. There is always a gap, no matter how much data we have, no matter how much we know and how good we know the facts maybe, there is always a conscious decision to be made, yes or no, right or left, right? Even sometimes, every one of you has had that. You seem to know everything, everything seems to be clear, but your gut feeling says something different. So there's still a decision that doesn't just rest on data, and artificial intelligence, at least so far, I believe, does not have a gut feeling. So I believe it should not replace, at least at the higher, more complex questions, decision-making as such, but it can certainly extremely boost our ability to do so and support and quicken the way we get there. That makes sense.
I just would like to add to what Doctor was saying. The question was very right. Today, with the AI world that we are living in, it just definitely enables to get the data much faster. There is no doubt about it. Maybe more data, complex data can be organized to one. The doctor was, in the slide, he was mentioning very clearly, direction, precision, and speed. Direction is what will be missing in AI. There will be too much of data glued, okay? But we really get complex. The topic itself says, strategies for simplifying decision making. That answers this question. To make it simplified, and this is what the direction you need to follow. Orientation is more important. I don't think AI would give you that. Because your goal and then direction, that is unique to everybody. AI will be more generic.
Okay, I think the next question is very similar. How can decision makers avoid over-reliance on technology and ensure that human judgment remains central to the process, particularly in the area of manufacturing and relevant MSMEs? I think I can't agree more on that. It's so whatever be the technology can be more of a support system, but you can't take the human out of the equation. So I think that's very, very well said. Is that okay?
I couldn't agree more as well, either. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that the question is how can they do that? And it's an important question, right? I think on the one hand, it's simply being conscious of it. It's a choice that we make, but we have to make that choice. We have to make sure that it's there. And I think what can help is by building into the system itself places and ways where the human being comes in, such as through, I hope, integration, for example, where you give agency to your people and not just to technology. And so you build it into a system because otherwise it sometimes gets lost. But I couldn't agree more that it's an extremely important question for the future, yes.
So that question was from Shankar Bangalore. The next question is from Nandini Chengalpattu. How do cultural or organizational factors influence the way complexity is perceived and managed in decision making? Mr. Singh, you want to say anything on that? How do cultural or organizational factors influence the way complexity is perceived and managed in decision making?
I'll tell you, first of all, before going to that, I would like to say we must know the difference between complicated and complexity. So somebody really asked me this question. Initially, I was wondering what it is. Then I thought for a while. Then I said, you see, today getting married is also complicated. Finding out a girl from our own community, relationship, wealth and everything. That is complicated, but easy. Once you marry, to stay lifelong peacefully, that is really complex. You all agree? Many husbands always say that we have to better surrender to her to be peaceful. So what here also in any organization, there are a lot of complex problems. Culturally is also one of them. I'll give an example. Suppose I have worked in this industry for more than 55 years. Every organization, of course, when organization grows, different kind of some people from south, some from north, some from east, all they work together. Culturally they are different. But I tell you, ultimately the objective of the company is to achieve a goal. Our subject today is that strategy for making a decision to
Simplify.
For simplify. So today I have a business, I have to make a strategy. So some of my young boys used to say, sir, what is strategy? All the word you all say. So I tell you, strategy means today you are in this position and you want to go there. How will you go? Say suppose I am in Chennai airport and I want to come to Mount Road. I find on the way there are some places there is strike, some places there is delay. I may have to take alternate routes with higher thing, but I have to come to Mount Road to attend this by a particular time. So my strategy is how do I really make a decision to come to reach this place. So either I request the people to wait for some time, is it good for me? Or I take a taxi which can take a larger route and come and reach me here. So this kind of decision, even if that cultural different kind of cultural people are there in business, definitely the decision making, the strategy has to be made in such a way, the complexities are all. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Singh.
May I add something to this?
Yeah, sure.
Being not of this culture, maybe I can add something because I find that very interesting. Culture always comes up. But I think there you have to distinguish between two things, and you said that very clearly, right? There's the culture of, let's say, the individual country or the individual corporation or organization, but there's also something that is the same everywhere. You said result, right? There can be a culture of, we have to achieve results, a culture of professionalism, a culture of effectiveness. When you look at well-run companies, they're in a way run the same everywhere. If Air India, say, or Indigo Air work well, they work the same, just as well as Lufthansa. They will be managed in a very similar fashion. The way it is expressed is very different. I'm from Europe, let me take the difference between a German and an Italian, right? So an Italian will gesture a lot and be loud and be I don't know what, and the German will be very quiet. But what they do will be very similar if they want to achieve good results for their corporation. So I think that's where culture often is a bit confused. We have to look at what is similar, because only from that can we learn for our corporations and for the decisions that we make. The differences, in my opinion, are beautiful, because that's what makes us human, but where we're similar is where we can learn together and go forward.
The next question, thank you, Constantin. The next is from Shankar Pondicherry. What strategies or principles do you recommend for making decisions in situations where information is incomplete or rapidly evolving? I think this is the case everywhere. I don't think you will ever take a decision with the complete information. So every time that you take a decision, there will be something which is lacking. And this is where when you have a structure and co-create a solution, I think many of these, when people put together as, when the 40 people sit together and act as one brain, I think that all those gaps would be covered and there would be near completion of the complete information. It will never be the ideal situation, but I think this would be a best possible chance for co-creating a solution. This is what I think. Yeah?
Yeah, I believe absolutely. I would. There are several cybernetic principles. I mentioned heuristics, for example, before. So a heuristic approach instead of an algorithmic approach. But there's also one very cybernetic from Heinz von Förster, one of the great cybernetics, once said, always act as to increase your options. That is not always possible. Obviously, sometimes we have to say green or yellow, and one it is, and we have to run with it. That is clear. But wherever you can, increase the number of options that you still have in such a situation, because that your information is incomplete. Mr. Singh, you have so much experience.
Yeah, we'll finish. The next question is, as for Chengalpattu, what role does emotional intelligence play in simplifying and improving decision making at leadership level?
I'm not an expert on emotional intelligence, but I want to believe it plays an important one. I think that empathy is something that is incredibly important in organizations. I believe in the human factor, and I believe that although management, there's a saying, cybernetics is the science of what management is the profession, and management is the profession of achieving results. And that is important because that's what our organizations are all about, but there are different ways to get there. And I want to believe that that it's extremely important to show empathy with your people and to, show a large degree wherever possible of emotional intelligence. However, it is so not everybody has the same degree, and an effective manager needs to exhibit results. But like I said, I'm unfortunately not an expert on emotional intelligence. I just believe it plays an important role. What exactly is probably for someone else to answer.
In simple terms, as long as you work with human beings, emotional intelligence plays a key role. And for the leader, it's all the more important. And for any leader who work with different kinds of diverse gender, and Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, it's even more becoming important.
Thank you. What are the common pitfalls or biases that individuals and organizations should watch out for when simplifying complex decisions? Akash, Bangalore. What are the common pitfalls or biases that individuals and organizations should watch out for simplifying complex decisions? Anything in particular that you want to say here? Common pitfalls?
I mean, one pitfall in decision making in general, but is the notion that the problem is clear, that you know what it is about. That usually comes too quickly. There's usually more to, especially when it's complex problems, there's generally much more to the matter than what you believe in the first instance. And so it is good to be aware of that, take a step back, and then include other people as well to make sure you have the most amount of information that you can get at this point about something. That's usually a very early pitfall.
I think this is the reason why Constantin also mentioned, you do iterations. The first iteration you have something, maybe when you are going for the second iteration, then some of the biases are avoided. And then you are actually enriching your solution because you are going to be a part of the other group meetings. So you're going to carry those information to that. So when you're doing the second iteration, then those biases are normally avoided, So I think this is how the structure works. The next question is from Sanjana of T Nagar. Is he here? She here? Online, okay. Could you share some personal insight on lesson learned from a decision-making challenge you have faced? How successful was it? Mr. Singh?
Yes, I will address it.
Yes.
Thank you very much for a very interesting, in fact, question. I tell you, as I have been in the industry for nearly 55 years, you see, in every place, wherever we go, the decisions are made in various ways. Somewhere it is owner-driven, somewhere it is the leader-driven, somewhere by a group of people. So now, what today we want to really take, ultimately today's our discussion is that how we should decide in a complex issue. That is our. There are many other decisions to marry, not to marry, to go to friends' house. We are not discussing those things, so, although they may be some kind of relevance. But when we are talking of taking a decision in a complex situation, and as I said, complex is not just ordinary one, which is so difficult that there are so many variety of problems are there. So one is the variety. And when that variety has to be handled, they are so interwoven that by a common thinking, we will not be able to resolve that. So therefore we need. So what normally we have been doing all through, I think most of us, many leaders are here. We call group of people, we discuss various departmental heads. The head is sitting there, maybe 3-4 people like this. They ask, they discuss. While discussing this virtually, it is more or less a one-way traffic kind of thing. He asks, because we are the leader, whatever we are saying, we are deciding. So now the decision is such that today we are not able to get the knowledge of many people, which may be very relevant here. That's what I've been referring to him. That is called a tacit knowledge. There are many of us, we may not have any relevance in the particular subject matter for which we are discussing, but his input, he may not have been the right authority or he may not have the right status to display. But when we are discussing something, how do we really tap that tacit knowledge to make it explicit? So when we are doing a normal discussion, you can't have it. So today the problem is complex. For solving that complex problem, what the integration, what we are talking of is nothing. It is integration is only taking the iteration between various people. It is churning the issues so, about 3 to 4 times with about 30-40 people in such a manner that the tacit knowledge is again coming, people are discussing, and that is coming to the center point so that we are other people, those who have even not known of it, that knowledge is coming to the entire mass and giving it. So they really here like what we are talking of, this is in the principle of an engineering way, that is a compression and tension theory. Say today, you see the structure, what we are thinking, it is just it is about having 12 nodes and then about 20 triangles. So all that is standing in a different location. Take a case of Howrah Bridge. In 1890, it was designed, there was no pillar in between. It's about more than 1.5 kilometers. Those days there was no way. So that is only in the principle of your compression and tension theory. That means each of the joints, they are all in compression as well as in tension. Similarly, the same principle we are applying here in decision making. So when all these people are sitting, when we are discussing, one person has raised a question, that same thing is being debated, then it is again debated. There are critics who are criticizing this one in absolutely in a non-hierarchical, in a democratic manner. As he said, their leader will be there, but he has equal authority as much as that person who has raised the decision. So making a decision in a complex, first of all, the situation is complex, and in that complex situation, we are able to take a decision in a manner as we are talking through this mechanism of integration, sir. So I think I have been able to.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. I think the next question is a little tough question. Last question, is it? Okay. What is one actionable step participants can take today to improve the decision making skills and simplify the approach to the complex problems? Daniel from Alvarpet, I think I would say it's a very difficult question, but from my point of view, respect others' point of view. I think if you are able to respect the other's point of view while taking a decision, I think that would be one of the best things from my point of view.
Yeah.
Constantin, you can say something.
It's super tough. It has to be actionable today. So Stafford Beer was once asked by participants in a conference in the elevator, what is your 2-minute video? And he said, what I do cannot be explained in 2 minutes. And the gentleman then said, then you don't exist. So it's a super tough question to just say, what can I do today? It's probably not super actionable right now, but I always think be interested in systems and systems theory and how things work together, how things are interconnected. That changes immediately the perspective you have on things, and it helps you deal with complexity much better.
Sorry? So there's one more last question. How can organizations balance speed and accuracy when making decisions in rapidly changing environments? Purushothaman Kochi. I'll just quickly go through this. And are there specific tools or technologies you would recommend for breaking down and visualizing the complex problems? Priya Adayar Chennai. How can this be used for stopping? What is it? Used for war stopping, is it? And energy, is it? J. War stopping. We can't. Yeah, I think there's also a set of questions. What we would do, Captain, is that maybe we will send an email reply for this due to the paucity of time. And then, but I think brilliant questions. Thank you very much, for all those who have asked these questions. And I think we hope that to some extent we have, responded to the questions. But please feel free to refer to us. Captain has all our contacts. So if anything, kindly feel free to talk to us. Send us a mail or and we will ensure that we are able to respond to the best of our ability. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shiva and Dr. Malik and Giridhar. It's a fascinating evening, a lot of knowledge, a lot of questions. Over 700 viewers are watching this program. I got a lot of questions I picked up and sent to you. I held back a couple of questions actually. Otherwise, I'll share with you those questions. Thank you so much for ably moderating and bringing in. Thanks, Mr. Malik, for patiently answering all the questions, and thanks so much. Thank you, Mr. Giridhar, for I know how busy you are. Could able to spend some time this evening. Very quickly, please step forward and do the honor of presenting memento to all the distinguished guests for this evening. Maybe other committee members present here can also join us. Come, sir. The MMA publication, you will like it. Come. Come, come.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure sharing the stage with you. I was